My name's GuyKesTV and I've been a professional mountain bike tester for nearly 25 years. And today I've had an absolute blast filming the live ride review on Ragley's Marley 2. But what are the specific details behind that bike that make it such an absolutely brilliant bomber for the money? Okay, so starting off, you've got alloy frame, so relatively light frame, but really good stiff tapered head tube up front, 65.5 degree head angle. You can see here you've got, it's ready ported for a dropper post. You'll have to pay extra. It's 100 quid for a brand X dropper post if you want to add that to the component mix, but it's a proper fully internal dropper cable. It just pops out on the seat tube there if you look on the other side, but otherwise all internal. Brake and gear are external, just clamped really neatly under the top tube there. Keeps everything neat, easy to service on the outside, and also continuous outer cable run is probably the best way to protect gearing from the weather as well. You've got ISCG chain guide mounts there, so if you find you are flinging your chain off, then you can get a full chain roller in there. It's boost at the back end. Obviously you've got a fully replaceable gear hanger on there, and because the axle terminal is replaceable, you know, you're not going to thread it and damage it that way. Post mount on the rear, and it's set up for 180mm rotor as standard, so maximum stopping power from these fairly basic Shimano brakes, but they'll be more than enough on some of the steepest tracks I know today. In terms of gearing, you've got an 1142 rear block, 10-speed Dior on there, so super dependable, all the gears you need pretty much, and just in a super reliable format. And it's a shadow rear mech as well, so even though it has got this neat Ragley chainstay protector on there, you're not necessarily going to need it because that chain is going to be kept nice and controlled by the clutch mech, stopping the rear mech bouncing around too much. While you've got Suntour chain set up front, you haven't got Shimano. It's a through axle chain set, so you're getting an external bottom bracket behind there, and it's a replaceable chain ring as well. So, you know, it's a proper stiff feeling crank that when these steel chain rings wear out, and that'll take a long time, you can replace with a fresh one. You don't have to throw away the whole crank. And that's still pretty rare on a bike at this price point. Another upgradability feature, you've got a tapered head tube as well. So again, you're not all bikes at this price point are going to have a tapered head tube still, which means you've got a tapered fork. So it's a Recon RL with steel legs, so they're stiffer than the alloy legs, bit heavier, but definitely very impressive tracking when I've been full on the anchors and turning it in down Dark Horse today. And it's a bit reluctant to get to full travel, but if you're really determined, you can get it there. And then for climbing back up again, you've got a basic compression damper on there, and it's an air fork, so it's super easy to set up for different rider weights as well. And under here, I mean, it's not the most glamorous thing, it's just a little plastic flag. I don't know if you can see it up there, but a little plastic flag up there for tuning your rebound. But, you know, it's effective. It'll cope with the full range of spring rates, and it means the bike isn't pogoing all over the place. 180mm rotor on the front again, and a proper bolt-through fork, as you'd hope. And on top of these forks, giving you maximum control, you've got this super wide 780mm Ragley bar, and it's not, you know, it's not just a piece of horrible gas pipe. It's got a really, really nice feel to it. Bars are so important on budget hardtails like this because the fork isn't ever going to be that plush, it isn't ever going to be that smooth. It's really easy to get a bar that's too stiff, and I mean, bikes have lost group tests I've done because their bar's been too stiff, and this definitely isn't, you know, this is one of the nicest feeling alloy bars I've ridden, I have to say. A little 45mm stem there, nothing fancy, but super stiff, super reliable. Love a cold forged stem. Would rather have one of them all day long rather than a CNC machine stem. And proper Ragley lock-on grips with a really good file tread on there. Soft-ended, there's not a double clamp, so that's not going to bruise your hand, so you can use that full width of the bar. And again, just another really nice touch. Proper metal head badge on there, seat slots, just the fact it's ready for a tapered, you know, ready for a tapered fork. In fact, it's ready for a dropper post, and it's got a nice little neat blanking plate in there, not just a horrible big hole. Sorry, I'm getting carried away with the frame again, because that is the heart of the bike, and it is available for 300 quid if you don't want one of the complete bike options. So, just flipped it round, you've got some nice detailing around there on the self-extractor bolt, external bottom bracket there, and then this is where the dropper post would come out, the cable there, and then back in there, and then pop out on the far side. You've got room for a bottle there, and also there's no bottle bosses on the seat tube, so that means you can properly slam that seat post before you get the dropper upgrade. Looking in the back here, You can see this is this really nice drive side piece here, so it sneaks in between the chainring and the tyre. It gives you loads of mudroom there, and it's just got this little web built into the back there for an extra bit of stiffness and a bit more weld area onto there. Just lets them get that big tyre in really nice and close without, you know, compromising strength and without compromising mud clearance, because this is a UK design bike. And again, you've got that little shelf across the back rather than a bridge, so again, plenty of strength but plenty of mud clearance as well. And then the slot here is on the front, so you've not got any all this mud stays outside your frame, doesn't fall into the frame. And even, you know, obviously, you know, we'd love to have a dropper on this. We think it's well worth getting that Brand X upgrade for another 100 quid. But even on this QR that you've got at the moment, you've got that little brass shim in there, so it closes really tightly. It just gives a consistent amount of friction without the alloy wearing out, and just gives it a nice closing feel. And you've got, you know, and again, another quality touch, you've got this Ragley monogrammed saddle, not just printed but properly embossed. I mean, that's a really nice feature. There's a lot of real boutique top-end brands that don't go to that trouble. They really have thought a lot of the detail through on this bike. It's so nicely put together. It's just great. They're obviously proud of this brand and proud of all the detailing they're doing on it, and they're prepared to invest in it. And they deserve tons of credit for that, when they could just be going for, like, you know, bottom dollar maximum margin. And then moving back here, it went to booster bolt through last year, 148mm, but it's, again, it's a fully, you can see the bolt heads there, it's a fully replaceable dropout system. So if you do thread it somehow, you get too heavy-handed with the Allen keys, then, you know, you can fully replace that whole back end. You've got a brake post there reinforcing it. But even though it's a properly tough bike, the actual ride feel is absolutely superb, especially with those big 2.6-inch tyres on there. And that quality of ride feel is really rare on an alloy hardtail that's designed to take a beating and has the angles to kind of let you throw that kind of ride down. But then Ragley have had 10 years of experience of getting this right, and this Marley is an evolution of a bike that's been winning awards for year after year after year. And I think, you know, if this doesn't win awards in 2020, I'm going to be totally blown away. It's certainly getting one from me. Back to spec, it's super basic Shimano brake, but they've done me proud all day. And they are totally reliable, these basic Shimano brakes. No trouble with bite point or anything like that. The only thing I would say, if you're going to be using it a lot in really heavy braking situations, you're going to go through pads very quickly. And if you upgrade to a harder pad, you're going to go through rotors very quickly. So definitely keep an eye on pads and rotors if you're working this bike as hard as it wants to be worked. And then round the back, you've just got Shimano Dior trigger shifters. Again, it's only a 10-speed, but it's just super reliable, and you're not going to burst into tears if you do knacker it with your knee or send it into a tree. But the one massive difference for this year on this Ragley Marley is this tyre spec. I mean, it had WTB 29mm rims last year, and it had WTB tyres as well, which, you know, they're not bad tyres by any stretch, but Minion DHF in 2.6, that's pretty much the benchmark tyre for a hardcore hardtail in 27.5, or any 27.5 bike at the moment, certainly up front. And not only is it just the standard tyre, it's the 3C triple compound Max Terra compound with Exo Plus protection, which means it's not a full downhill carcass, because that would feel so numb and so heavy on this bike. It's just slightly tougher than the standard Exo carcass, and it's a brilliant balance for the kind of letting you run super low pressures and still having that stability. And also on the back end, you obviously got a DHR2, the rear tyre. Again, it's a 2.6, and again, it's 3C Max Terra Exo Plus. So you can drop the pressures right down to give you a more forgiving ride, but you're still not going to burst your brains out of the tyre if you clip a rock or if you land it too hard. Really tough, just superb trail tyre for an aggro hardtail. I mean, these are about 70 quid an end, these tyres, on a bike that's under £1,000 all told. That really is absolutely outstanding spec. And the rims come taped, you get valves included as well, so all you need to do is slop some sealant in there. They don't put that in for you, because if it's sat around on the showroom floor, then it'll go manky and it won't really work when you need it to. So just ask your dealer, because these bikes are available from dealers, as well as chain reaction and wiggle. So just ask your dealer to set it up tubeless for you, and you are good to go. I mean, I think I'm running these about 15, 16 just on these super steep sections today. And they're still, still biting really well, still super predictable. Well, as predictable as I ever am going down a descent like this. Seat angle 73, it's slightly old school, and the reach is only 455mm on this large. You want to go to the Blue Pig or the M-Bop, you know, one of Ragley's more radical, more expensive bikes if you want super progressive geometry. But just the agility and rideability of this bike on less taxiing trails is fantastic, and yet you've still got that slack 65.5 degree head angle, keeping it controlled on super steep techie stuff like I've been razzing it down today. I mean, watch the live rider video. I've had an absolute blast on this bike. So, thanks very much for watching this Tech Talk round. If there's anything I've missed, please get busy in the comments. But actually sort of talk to you face to face now, although, to be fair, it's much nicer looking at the bike than it is looking at me. But anyway, thanks very much for watching. If you like what I'm doing, please consider subscribing to my Patreon channel, like these fine folks scrolling up here. Thank you very much for Ragley for sponsoring this video. I mean, I hope you realise it's still as honest and as unscripted as they always are, but I have bloody loved riding this bike. Absolute killer for the money. Thanks to Gore for the kit, Camelback, chest protector, Endura for trousers and the knee pads under the trousers, Mavic for the winter boot, Crud for keeping my lens and my face clean, and Crank Brothers for keeping my feet on the pedals even when I was going absolutely nuts down here today. So make sure you watch the live ride review as well, and follow me on social at GuyKesTV, and check out my Patreon channel for more behind the scenes stuff. And we will be having more Ragleys on this channel soon, so super excited. If this is how well their basic bike rides, I am super excited to get on more Ragleys for 2020. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. It's been a total blast.